I'd like to thank you for inviting me on the show. It's such an honour to be here, and I'd just like to say that when I'm not playing Xbox with my mate Thor, I really like to listen to my favourite podcast, Pop Culture Pasta. Hey, Doug! Doug! Oh, that's right, Doug's dead.
Pop Culture Pastor.
All right, Cody. I feel like it's best to start everyone off with the biggest news that we could possibly say. First of all, this is Pop Culture Pastor, the podcast. My name is Dave. Cody's here.
I don't think that's the news.
Have you tried the chicken Big Mac yet?
No.
Okay, this is the news. I had a no. I'm just kidding. McDonald's is when they bring back their McRib, they're selling half-gallon jugs of their fake barbecue sauce. That's the news.
That is newsworthy. I don't know if that's the news.
Yeah, I was so over that immediately. First of all, I was like, "What?" It took me half a second to go from a half-gallon jug to wake me when you sell your mayonnaise.
Evidently, their McRib barbecue sauce is different than the chicken nugget barbecue sauce.
Yes.
You would have had me if it was the chicken nugget BBQ sauce.
Jackson, where do you stand on McDonald's barbecue sauce?
Apparently, I don't eat enough of it to have an informed opinion.
No, none of that's the news. None of it. What is news is that you may have heard of a new social media site called Blue Sky. Blue Sky is a new-ish social media spot by the original maker of Twitter.
Yes.
Who sold to Elon and now has a new thing that's just like old Twitter, right? I mean, it's basically the same thing.
So it makes me think maybe more of a combination of Twitter and LinkedIn, because the starter pack thing feels LinkedIn-ish. So
we went to Comic-Con this past weekend in Wichita, Air Capital Comic-Con.
Yes.
Which, big shout out, thank you to them. They put on a good con. It was good times there in the YMCA in Wichita. We did not sing the song. I don't know why.
But we missed out.
But we hung out with a lot of cool people. We saw some old friends.
We did.
From past cons, and we made some new friends. And if I could mention every single one of them by name, man, I would, because it means that much. It was so much fun.
We did not make friends with Darth Vader.
He seemed annoyed to have to take a posed picture with us, didn't he?
A little bit.
I mean, it seems pretty obvious, that he's all burned and stuff. Why are you laughing? He is. Didn't you see the movie?
I did.
Yeah. I mean, that's the real Darth Vader we met.
It is.
I didn't know he was 5'8", but things happen, especially when you lose your legs.
Well, maybe he wasn't wearing his boots with the built-in heels.
So the Comic-Con was great, but while we were there, Cody tells me we should get on Blue Sky.
That's what I do.
And so I'm like, I did the obvious thing. I'm like, I'm 48 years old. I'm old. What's Blue Sky? He explained to me what it was. And so I'm like, all right, we get on the ground floor. He said, and I saw that everybody was kind of flocking to it.
Like 1 million people a day.
As you might have guessed, it is politically motivated, just like everything in our culture.
Seemingly.
Like they just wanted to get back to the old Twitter, basically, and have their spot. And by they, I'll let you figure it out. I don't get into all that. Cody knows this about me. I just don't care about politics.
He doesn't.
And so, but that's why people were flocking to it, because they were tired of the new presence on Elon's social media site. And they were all flocking to Blue Sky. So I was like, all right, we can. That's what we love. That's what we pride ourselves at Pop Culture Pastors. We can be a part of any group.
We can.
Because we just love people. And we're not, look, we are determined to not let these divisions get in the way of us loving people. And so I signed us up for Blue Sky. And we were sitting there for a good 24 hours with 3 followers.
Yeah.
And then something amazing happened.
What was that?
Cody made a post, a reply to one Benjamin Stiller.
My best friend.
Ben Stiller.
Who is not following me.
Yeah, he is. I think he followed you. Oh, no, he liked your post.
He liked my post.
Okay. So Ben Stiller gets on the new social media and he says, well, how do I follow people? Who should I follow? Because it's like, I mean, when I tell you, it's still pretty new.
It's been around for a couple months, but people just really discovered it in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah. And so Ben Stiller's asking for people to follow. And Cody replies to Ben's post and says, you should follow Pop Culture Pastor, and puts our screen name on there and says, we're going to review season 2 of Severance. We're really looking forward to it. And lo and behold, not only did Ben like that post, but Ben followed Pop Culture Pastor. And then I posted something as a reply and he liked that post.
Oh, snap.
So we're in his algorithm now.
We are.
He's seeing all our posts. Not only that, but we picked up we're calling it the Ben Stiller bump. Because he followed us and people saw that, like it shows you follow this person that you're already following.
Yeah.
That was like Inception. But anyways, we picked up I think 40, 50 followers just from that.
Wow.
I know. Sitting at a solid 48 followers or something like that. Jackson's over here like, that's it?
Winning.
So I'm hearing Tropic Thunder 2, Dave and Cody will be making an appearance.
It is a good thing that I knew that he was a part of the making of Severance. That paid off.
Yeah, because he's the producer. He's one of the
Yes.
producers. It might be the executive producer. I don't know.
Yeah. So he had been sharing a little bit about wrapping up Severance season 2, and I was all about Severance.
Yeah.
And you will be too come January.
Cody has been is one of the biggest Severance fans I know. I'm intrigued by it after season 1, but I don't know. I'd have to say I'm probably having more fun with From right now.
Oh, no. No, Severance blows it out of the water.
But shout out, if you are enjoying From, we do a watch along pod to that. If you're not listening to it, you probably should be.
Which I do enjoy From quite a bit, but Severance, it's on a whole nother plane.
Yeah. Before we get into the news, let me just say it at the beginning so we don't have to say it at the end. If you're not a subscriber to this pod, because we picked up a lot of people who I think are listening right now just to try us out. If you listen for a couple minutes and you decide, hey man, I kind of like these dudes. I kind of like their vibe. Please subscribe. Please follow us on all the social medias. We're pretty much on all of them. Just look us up, find the logo, the comic word bubble with the multiple 80s neon colors.
Not the Jesus picture.
No, Pop Culture Pastor. There is another Pop Culture Pastor. That's what Cody's referring to. But we have the comic word bubble with the 80s colors. We got to go to the news now that we're 8.5 minutes into the pod. There's Daniel Craig news and DC news.
It's happening.
Daniel Craig might join Jimmy Gunn's DC universe as... It's not what you're thinking, Cody. He's joining the DC universe maybe as Sergeant Rock. Now, Sergeant Rock was a big part of DC Comics in the 1950s. I only know this because my grandpa, who was in the military, had a bunch of these Sergeant Rock comics. He had a stack of them. And I remember looking at them when I was a kid. But obviously, it's big World War II stories with Sergeant Rock. And Daniel Craig may be Sergeant Rock. And my question is I think James Gunn may be going a little too deep, a little too quickly, instead of just, focusing on some of the main guys.
Well, him potentially even entertaining the story doesn't mean that it'll be something that comes out within the next 2 or 3 years. It could literally be 5 years down the road.
That's true.
And with Peacemaker already being a part of the DCU, you can have military folks just randomly appear, or have Sergeant Rock be a part of Waller's crew somehow. Or
No. They'd have to change his story completely, though.
So they said that they want to remain true to some of the key demographics of certain characters, but other characters they're willing to do a creative new twist. Because you're not going to have World War II in our DCU.
Okay, but hear me out. This is my issue with the character of Sergeant Rock. The character of Sergeant Rock is not going to have many fans. However, the little fans it does have are going to be super into it unless you change the character and change the story. So my questions are, and I'm not being negative, I kind of like the character of Sergeant Rock because, like I said, my grandpa had a stack of these comics. My question for DC and Warner Brothers would be, how do you make this character, one, relevant in today's culture, and two, how do you get new people to be interested? That would be the only questions, and those are kind of open-ended questions. I don't expect an answer to those, but I would think those are the questions they got to solve, right, Cody?
Yeah, and if what James Gunn has said over the couple of years now that he's discussed about that, I really think that this DCU is going to be geared towards keeping people engaged and making the stories meaningful. And that's all I ask.
Yep. I think it's all any of us ask. Could be Elseworlds too. He seems way more comfortable in saying, not avoiding like one canon.
Yes. And which Elseworlds I think needs to happen with DC, just because some of the cooler stories aren't going to fit into any universe whatsoever.
Yeah.
So you need like that separate entity.
I did find this little tidbit though in this article, and this was something since, my grandpa had obviously these very old comic book issues of Sergeant Rock, and I didn't know this, but apparently Sergeant Rock has also been in charge of the Suicide Squad in later stories.
So you could definitely go that route.
Yeah. I don't know anything about that Sergeant Rock. That's a mystery to me. So yeah, we got that going for us. Jackson, do you have any thoughts on Sergeant Rock?
I'm just being educated to the existence of Sergeant Rock while sitting here, but I mean, my easy response is just, until shown otherwise, I've got blind faith in James Gunn to make anything happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. I think we're all on the same page here. Ryan Reynolds said something that I think I've wondered about for a long time and never really said out loud. And I wonder how many people have also wondered this and not said it out loud. This is from Entertainment Weekly, and it says this: a Deadpool and Wolverine actor believes that comedy should receive more serious consideration and acclaim from awards bodies, and revealed one particular comedy performance that he thinks should have won an Oscar in an interview with the Variety Awards Circuit podcast, which we have not been invited on.
Not yet.
I don't know what's up with that, but that's where we're at. He said this, quote, Ryan Reynolds here: "We sort of unnecessarily hurdle ourselves over comedy as a craft. And if you ask me, one of the greatest injustices is that Eddie Murphy does not have an Oscar for The Nutty Professor or The Clumps," Reynolds said. He said, "Just the fact that he could sit at a table and be 10 different characters at one table, that is singular. That is a kind of talent that I don't know that we've, at this stage in our scientific journey of life, could understand fully." And he did it, not only that, but he did it in The Barbershop and Coming to America, kind of brilliantly as well. Why do we give people more credit for making people cry than we do for making people laugh? Because I think they're equally as difficult.
So this is a question, well, sort of, in the same vein that has been contemplated throughout this year.
Oh, really?
But with a different genre.
Okay.
The genre that's been actually making box office money, including for the indie film producers, it's the horror genre. And it does not get any acclaim whatsoever. And so I do think that, because typically it's dramas and biopics and maybe musicals. That's the big ones that get the nominations. It's not comedies. It's not the horror genre. I do think that Ryan Reynolds has a point. I don't know if I would have said The Clumps. That's just me personally, because it also has to have some good dialogue to it. Yes, you can be a brilliant actor, but if you're in garbage, that's not getting nominated.
An American Werewolf in London in 1981 was nominated for Best Makeup.
That sounds about right.
Get Out was nominated for Best Picture, Director, Lead Actor, and Original Screenplay, if you consider that horror, which, I don't know, you're walking a line there. I think his stuff, like if there's a division between thriller and horror,
Yeah.
I think you could make an argument there. Sweeney Todd in 2007. But that's
Tim Burton.
Well, it was the Broadway show.
Yes,
right?
it was a Broadway musical.
Yeah.
And also Tim Burton-fied.
And so, like, yeah, I guess what I'm saying too is it works for that. Why do we give more credit for making people cry than making people scream?
Exactly.
And so, yeah, listen, for my money, when I hadn't thought about this in the longest time, but Eddie Murphy in Coming to America in the barbershop scene, but he plays all these characters and he's hilarious and he makes us laugh. Each one of those characters makes us laugh.
Yeah. Coming to America, I would definitely nominate him.
Well, and I think The Nutty Professor too. I still quote that to this day. Hercules, Hercules. Okay, you're looking at me weird. Like that's not impressive?
No, playing multiple characters
okay.
is impressive, and that's part of the reason I really liked Split.
Okay.
But at the same time, again, if the script isn't up to par, it's not going to make it on any award show.
Okay, but what Ryan Reynolds is saying is different than Split. In Split, he's switching personalities, but he's the only one on screen. What Ryan Reynolds is referring to is this ability to sit at a table as 7 different characters.
I hear you, and I will counter that point just to be contrarian, Cody.
Here we go.
With Steve Urkel. Because Family Matters did Steve
two identities.
and Stefan in the same room at the same time.
2 identities.
They did it in an episode where he was playing 2 people at once. And if we're saying Jaleel White deserves all the praise, then I'm here for it. But
I'm not certain that Stefan wasn't just Jaleel White. I'm pretty sure Professor Clump and his family were not Eddie Murphy.
they're all Eddie Murphy.
No offense to Jaleel. No offense, but that's 2 characters, and I'm betting that Stefan had a lot more in common with Jaleel.
Maybe.
Should we play the movie game?
Why not?
Yeah, let's take a break and go play the movie game. We'll be right back. All right. Well, we haven't played the movie game. Oh, we did last week.
I was going to say when Brian John was on.
Yeah. So this is the first time in a while we'll have played 2 weeks in a row. Now, I can't remember what happened. Who won last time Jackson was here? Was it Cody?
It's always Cody.
It is?
And I'm going to let the audience know I was a couple minutes late, so I don't know if these cards have been examined ahead of time.
Jackson's kind of our sad sack geek. He's super negative about his chances at everything.
I think the fix
believe
is in.
you.
The fix is in. All right. Well, Jackson, you are the visitor, so you get your choice. I have 3 Rotten Tomato movie profiles in front of me. One for a 19% rated movie.
Oof.
That's trash. One for a mediocre 47% rated movie. And one for a certified fresh 90% rated movie. Which one would you like to try and solve?
Trash is where I live.
Trash.
Oh my
says
goodness.
Jackson. So we start off level 1. You've already got the 19%. This movie came out. This is in your favor. 2019. Somewhat recent. So Cody has a guess. He's shown me the paper. It is not. Well, I can't rule it out.
Yeah,
until
not yet.
Jackson takes a guess, or if he passes.
Let's go next level.
He's going to go next level. I can tell you, Cody, it is not Morbin time. I'm pretty sure that was after 2019, wasn't it?
It probably was, but it was a fun guess.
Cody guesses that for everything.
This is interesting because for a movie rated this badly on Rotten Tomatoes, I was not expecting to see the second billed actor's name. But the second billed actor is Idris Elba. 2019 movie.
The Losers?
19%. It is not The Losers. That's a good guess, though. That is. I bet The Losers is rated higher than this.
I think I've got it.
The number third level is the audience score. This is crazy too. 53%. So much higher than the critic score at 19%. 19% came out in 2019. Audience score 53%. Second build actor, Idris Elba. Second build actor. Cody has another guess. I will tell him he's wrong after Jackson guesses.
I'm 98% positive, but I can't think of the title, so keep going.
It's interesting that I don't think of Idris Elba a lot, but then now that I'm thinking about it, man, he's kind of prolific. He's in a lot of movies.
Now it's just commercials, though.
Yeah.
All right, level 4, the first build actor. This is kind of wild, too, for this 19% movie in 2019. The first build actor, Taylor Swift.
Oh, I would have been wrong.
Swift. 2019 movie, 19%.
Is it Cats?
It is Cats.
Yeah, way to go.
Way to go.
Yeah,
Nice.
I would have been totally wrong. I had it. It was a home invasion movie.
You were thinking, you weren't thinking of The Dark Tower.
No.
No. Although that was a good guess.
Cody wrote down, see, that would have been the first thing I thought of, but because I figured Matthew McConaughey would have been top build. Cody guessed Hobbs and Shaw, which I was like, man, he's been in a lot where he might have been second build.
I was trying to think of a bunch of random action movies because he's been in a ton of those recently.
Idris be working, man.
I blocked out Cats.
You and a lot of other people, except Swifties, apparently.
All right. I was way off. No Good Deed was in 2014.
All right. Well, that's practically 2019.
Yeah.
Pretty much anything that came out 10 years before COVID all runs together now.
Time is a flat circle.
Just label it as the good times. All right, Cody, you have to solve one of these by level 4 to tie Jackson. Are you going to go for the mediocre 47% movie or the certified fresh 90% movie?
I will go 90.
Okay, he's going to go for the top one. So
I'm probably going to butcher this.
I'll put this one over to the side for a tiebreaker. And I will tell you this 90% movie came out in 1994.
Okay.
So a while back. Cody is 5 years old. He's just a youngster watching presumably the Sleepy Hollow cartoon.
Yeah. I know. I'm pretty sure this came out in 93, but I'll say it just for kicks and giggles. Jurassic Park.
Oh, and it was, if it's a good movie, it would have been certified fresh, I'm sure, but it is not Jurassic Park. So I think that's a solid guess. The second build actor, level number 2, is Jeff Anderson.
Who?
Oh, I bet people know.
Oh, I know Jackson knows. He's already doing a dance.
I'm assuming you don't know. That's why I'm doing the dance. Sorry to all the Jeff Anderson fans listening.
I'm telling you, the people that would know Jeff Anderson know Jeff Anderson.
We're losing Blue Sky followers now.
I take it you'll be passing
Pass.
on this one. Level 3, the audience score, not going to help you, 89%. So just guess another Jeff Anderson movie.
Let's see. Thinking back to 94. I got nothing.
Jackson, this is going to be amazing because level 4 is not going to help him either because he didn't know who Jeff Anderson is. I'm pretty sure he's not going to know who this guy is. The first build actor to tie Jackson, Brian O'Halloran. Brian O'Halloran and Jeff Anderson. I'm telling you, there are people screaming at there because if you're these people who are gonna know what
Jackson got it.
What do you? Okay, don't look. Don't look at that.
Well, Jackson's showing the world.
Jackson, you're not supposed to. You got to be. You got to be more discreet. Brian O'Halloran, Jeff Anderson. 90% Rotten Tomato score, 89% audience score. Came out in 1994. Critical and audience darling.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to get it.
Okay.
I admit defeat.
Let me read the blurb because
Yes.
I do think the blurb will help him, even though Jackson has officially won. A convenience store cashier and his counterpart at the video store
Son
next
of a-
door spend a day shooting the breeze and ignoring customers. A Dave favorite and a Scotty favorite.
And I just talked about
this
it.
guy. It's Clerks.
And I said, I preferred Dogma over Clerks. I said it. Oh, yeah, no. I wasn't ever going to get that.
No, that was tough. That's a tough one because of the unknown quantity of those two guys that played Dante and Randall.
Like, if you look at their IMDb, I assume Clerks 2 comes up second.
I'm telling you, Friday morning when Scotty's listening to this, you're going to get a message.
I will.
And Scotty might be as mad as we've ever seen him. He'll be hopping mad.
For as much as he loves Kevin Smith, he
Yeah.
will hate this.
He might have got it off the first one. 1994.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, 94, that's Clerks.
Yep, it's Clerks.
So
All
we're
right.
debuting a new character, Concessions, Cody.
Yes.
So now, yeah, you guys are tied up in the last two matchups. We'll have to break that tie soon. All right. Good. That didn't get much of a reaction. We should move on. Thanks for the help there, guys. All right. When we come back, it's time for a Be Kind Rewind. We watched Gladiator to get ready for Gladiator 2. And we're going to talk about it when we come back. We just got a very cheery in-between recording moment when we found out that Mr. Belding is still alive from Saved by the Bell. Yeah. We got pretty excited about that. There was a great cheer that erupted.
Yes. I don't know if anyone has ever cheered for Mr. Belding like that.
I can't remember the last time I wondered if someone was still alive who was over a certain age, and I looked and he was. And I can't remember the last time. And Mr. Belding, Dennis Haskins, Ovs.
We should try to get him on the pod.
Is he on Blue Sky?
I doubt it. He's all right, boomer.
Let us know in the comments.
We asked that because Planet Comic-Con in Kansas City is starting to come out with some of their guests, and both Jesse Spano and AC Slater are going to be there. And I don't even know their real names. I just know them by who they are.
Mario Lopez?
Mario Lopez and
Elizabeth Berkley?
oh yeah, that's it. Those
Yeah.
two. I can't go see them because they just get mad at me for calling them AC and Jesse. That's how I knew them. That's who they were to me.
Mario has not been on TV the past 20 years reporting about Hollywood news for you to call him AC.
Okay, anyways, that's not what we're talking about. We are here because it's time for a Be Kind Rewind. We watched the 2000 movie Gladiator, released May 5th, 2000, directed by the controversial these days Ridley Scott. Music composed by Hans Zimmer, Lisa Gerard, and Klaus Badelt. Won several Academy Awards. 12? Is that how many it won? 12?
I feel it was nominated for 12. Might have only won 10 or 11.
Yeah, still a lot. $103 million budget, which for back then seems like a lot.
I will also mention it is one of the very few autographed posters that a David Rimbolt owns.
That's right. Someone gifted me. They're called bus posters, that particular size, because they were on buses in L.A. and New York, and it is signed by one Russell Crowe, and it hangs in the studio here behind us.
It does.
So we have a constant reminder of the movie Gladiator, and if I'm being honest, Gladiator is one of my favorite all-time movies. Anybody? How about you guys? Or do you have feelings for this movie or no?
My father has seen it probably 75, 85 times. I almost brought him in.
We could have had Chuck.
I forget
Yeah.
you guys are younger than me, but this movie is one of my favorites. And
So, I mean, it definitely was like one of those guy movies that you watched.
yes,
And-
yeah, absolutely.
So, like, it definitely takes up a place in my mind. But it's not one that I have rewatched religiously as an adult.
My
like
brain
I've caught
still
it probably
goes Spartacus.
1.5 times. I literally rewatching it today was like, Spartacus? And so, yes.
Spartacus what? The old Spartacus with Kirk Douglas?
Yes.
Yes.
That what?
Yeah.
How is that more on your mind, at the front of your mind, than this movie?
Because Spartacus is a classic, Dave. Also won several Academy Awards.
It was a classic in the 80s too, but we didn't watch it.
I actually had to watch it in 7th or 8th grade.
Yeah, we watched it in school. That's where a lot of our stuff
Yes.
comes from. We watched that in school, so it's a...
You watched Spartacus in school?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's wild. That's wild to me. I don't think that movie's historically accurate, you guys. Why are you looking at that? All right, here's the blurb. Set in Roman times, the story of a once powerful general forced to become a common gladiator. The emperor's son is enraged when he is passed over as heir in favor of his father's favorite general. He kills his father and arranges the murder of the general's family, and the general is sold into slavery to be trained as a gladiator. But his subsequent popularity in the arena threatens the throne. That's a wordy blurb.
It's very Ridley Scott.
I was going to say, did Ridley write that blurb? Oh my goodness. This movie, well, as we've already said, it has a lot of, it means a lot to a certain kind of dude, right?
Yes.
It's very much a dude movie, especially dudes my age and around my age. Here's some things you might not know about the movie and about the making of the movie. During the opening battle scene, Russell Crowe sustained actual injuries when his horse was startled, causing him to back into tree branches. The stitches he had to get on his cheek are visible in the scene where he tells Commodus he intends to return home. So interesting enough there, Russell Crowe was injured. Actor Oliver Reed I remember this story. So Oliver Reed, who played Proximo, he passed away 3 weeks before principal photography ended. And if you watch closely in this movie, you can tell the scene at the end is very carefully edited with a body double.
They changed the story too.
Did they?
Yeah.
Okay, I see. I didn't find that part. But to complete his remaining scenes, the filmmakers used a combination of a body double and CGI. This movie uses some CGI, although not exactly where you would have expected it. We'll talk about that later. But him dying and their usage of CGI added approximately $3 million to the production costs right there at the end.
Don't worry. It made it back.
Actor Oliver Reed, by the way, was an accomplished actor who'd been in movies for years. So you've already kind of explained where this movie hits you. So Jackson, this movie wasn't on your radar when you were younger?
I wouldn't say not on my radar. That was back when, if it was a new movie, I watched it, and that was before I really knew like movies could be bad, which this one's not, spoiler alert, but it was definitely one that I watched when it came out, and then I think my dad was just watching it almost consistently to where like that was my rebellious stage of I'm not going to watch Gladiator. When most kids are staying out late or doing other things, I was just apparently not watching Gladiator.
That a kid. You showed him.
Yeah. How do you like me now? But no, this is the movie that introduced me to Russell Crowe. I thought Russell Crowe was like a, unknown actor, and this was his first role, and, upward and onward from there. I didn't find him in some of his earlier stuff until after. So this was my doorway to Russell Crowe.
I think that's a familiar story. I think a lot of people, that's what this movie was for him. And for what it's worth, I don't know that Russell Crowe's ever been better in anything than this.
L.A. Confidential.
He's good in L.A. Confidential. He's good. But man, is he good in this movie. Now, I have a new segment here that I'm going to call Merchandising Madness, because a lot of these old movies had merchandising tie-ins that I thought that are kind of bonkers. Like, we all remember the McDonald's glasses, the Pizza Hut glasses, things like that. If you're over a certain age, you remember that. There's always these funny, weird tie-ins.
The Wild Wild West burger.
Oh,
At Burger King.
Yeah, that was pretty good though.
It was.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the fast food tie-ins. As I've said many times, the hero burger that was tied into Batman 3, was it Batman Forever?
Yeah.
At McDonald's, that burger, they should bring that burger back because it was amazing. It was served on a hoagie.
Oh, we're talking food tie-ins. I was going to say Burger King was the king of like merchandise.
Yeah, but we're talking about all the above. Any kind of tie-ins with
I remember
movies.
the Wild Wild West sunglasses.
I had those.
Anyways, merchandising mayhem here, if that's what I end up calling it, or merchandising madness. Which one do you think sounds better?
Madness.
We're going to look at some of the
Mayhem.
crazier tie-ins to Be Kind Rewind movies. Are you aware that the Gladiator, this movie, had action figures? Which is interesting because this movie's a hard R.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's super violent.
There's scenes where I think, did Quentin Tarantino direct this? All the blood just gushing out everywhere.
There was a line of action figures produced featuring characters like Maximus and Commodus. A Commodus action figure? These toys, complete with weapons and armor, seemed suited for children, which is what they are usually. It's just kind of weird that you'll if you'd never heard of them, you'll be like, well, that's why I never heard of them, because why would you put action figures out for a movie that's rated R and kids can't see?
Yeah, that's like half the reason that a lot of Marvel and DC projects go PG-13 and not R is because of the merchandising.
Because of toys. Yeah. In 2003, there was they developed a video game called Gladiator Sword of Vengeance that was originally going to tie more into the movie. Now it was released for PlayStation 2 and Xbox. It ends up not being tied to the film's plot at all, but it capitalized on the gladiatorial combat theme. The game's over-the-top violence and mythical elements diverged from the movie's historical setting, and they did that somewhat later in production.
I had a GameCube at this time.
You did not play Gladiator Sword of Vengeance in 2003. It says it's a hack and slash video game.
Sounds about right.
You didn't play that either, Jackson? No. I remember seeing it in the store, but I did not rent it. It was not a renter for me, which we rented games back in the day, kids. We'll explain it to you later. Also, here in Merchandising Madness, there were obviously lots of Gladiator costumes that year. Halloween, especially for adults.
That sounds accurate.
Yeah, some of the costumes were notably low quality with plastic armor and flimsy swords. Shocking.
Bring them back.
Shocking. There was a novelization. Of course, that's not novel, pun intended. But the novel is particularly panned because the attempt to capture the film had a visual style that was kind of grand. And obviously a book would have trouble with that. There's a lot of dreamy sequences in this movie.
Tough to capture.
And I could not find any proof of this on the internet. But allegedly there were Gladiator collectible plates, like dinner plates. But I could not find any. So if anybody is sleuths on the internet and can find me a picture of the Gladiator collectible plates.
Or if you happen to have one of the Gladiator collectible plates.
Yeah, that would be amazing. And I would love to know who made them. But this
Avon.
I did find enough on the internet to say that these apparently were made. A nice joke, Cody. I just got that.
To eBay we go.
Yes.
All right, let's get into it, you guys. Jackson. Oh, you know what? We're going to do Muppetize the movie right off the bat here.
All right.
Oh, sweet.
Let's Muppetize this movie. The way we Muppetize the movie is we keep one human actor and we Muppets are the rest of the cast, and I make them pick 3 specific Muppets and their parts. So, Jackson, who is your one human and 3 Muppets and their parts?
I feel like the easy answer would have been keep Russell Crowe, but
yes,
I'm going to go obscure and say keep Joaquin Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my goodness.
Yep.
And
did we all 3 do that? Tell me we all 3 kept Joaquin.
Okay.
We did.
And it's just because, oh, okay, well, Go with it. I have a specific explanation.
I do too.
Yeah, right.
You guys are probably a lot
We
more
are sick
detailed
and
than
twisted.
me. Let's have Maximus be Kermit, Proximo be Fozzie.
Okay, stop. Okay, stop there. You just do 3, because since we've all gone kind of the same direction,
Well, he has only done 2.
That was
Muppets.
3, right?
He's only done 2 Muppets. He's done the
okay.
the human actor.
Kermit and Fozzie. Fozzie
And
is
then-
Proximo. By the way, he looks like Proximo.
Let's go Gonzo as Jaimin Hansu's character.
Oh, nice. Yes.
Good choice.
Yeah. I'm just to see Gonzo and Kermit just chilling in the Gladiator stuff. They have some poignant scenes.
They would.
That's good. I would see that movie.
So I nearly went with Wonder Woman's mom. Because that's who she
Connie
is to
Nielsen.
me.
Her name's Connie Nielsen, man.
But I went with Joaquin Phoenix. Primarily, I had 2 reasons. First reason was he would definitely choose a project like this.
Yeah.
Because he, A, likes Ridley Scott, and B, there's a huge chance it would flop. And he is attracted to those projects.
And as a special bonus, he probably thinks it's super historically realistic that everybody was Muppets.
Potentially. And then the second one is when he's dying, I would like him up to say, quit stabbing yourself.
I do like the visual of a Muppet killing a human. I don't know why.
That's it?
So I also had Fozzie being Proximo, just because Proximo had that line about your mother's brought you into this world and I'm going to see you die. And I could see that being played for laughs. You get Fozzie doing his stand-up.
While he's talking to his thumb.
Yeah. I had Rolf be Maximus.
I can see it. He kind of looks like Russell Crowe.
He does. And I also thought, like, he's more believable than Kermit being Maximus, so Rolf it was. And then I had Gracchus being Sam Eagle.
Oh, yeah. Him as a senator, as a Roman
Yes.
senator would be very good. That's good stuff. I think we've got the makings of a great movie started here because for the first time ever in Muppetize, we all picked to save the same human, and he's not the obvious first choice.
No.
Because the obvious first choice is Russell Crowe. Keep Russell Crowe. But I also said keep Joaquin Phoenix on simply alone because there's a whole storyline where he's kind of creepy and is in love with his sister.
Yes.
And I just needed Joaquin to be creepy with my first Muppet, Piggy, as Lucilla. Miss Piggy fending off her creepy brother, Commodus, who's Joaquin Phoenix. I had Kermit as Maximus just because Kermit usually takes the lead role. But here's where it gets really inspired. As Marcus Aurelius, I would have had the Swedish chef.
Yes.
Because can you just imagine that moment where he's talking to Commodus or with Maximus, and then he's very dramatic. He says, "Dirty flirted, me flirting dirty." Yeah, it would just
Bork, bork, bork.
It just would have been hilarious to me to have like. And by the way, if you didn't know, Marcus Aurelius is a real historical figure.
Yes.
A philosopher. No, he's known as a philosopher and one of the better Caesars Rome ever had. And so just to have the Swedish chef utter these lines with that dramatic Richard Harris voice would have been hilarious.
I'm a little disappointed none of us brought Beaker in.
He nearly did.
I did bring Beaker in last week. I figured I couldn't bring Beaker in 2 weeks in a row. But Swedish Chef is close. I kind of like having one absurd Muppet play a serious character.
Yes.
I did bring Beaker in as the dictator guy in V for Vendetta. Jackson, what holds up in this movie?
I feel like the storyline holds up. It's nice, cut to the chase, simple. It's not overly complex. It's just, it kind of hits on something that we can all identify with.
Yeah, I noticed last night when I was watching this, I watched this with my 2 older kids, and I did notice that the movie's 2.5 hours long, first of all.
Which got my wife to tap out.
Yeah.
It's a long movie, and I wouldn't say that the movie story is simple. Like, there's some complex moving pieces, but the formula is. It's a very simple formula. You've got the major hero guy who's respected by all, falls from grace. He's helped, of course, with his fall. And then he battles back from his lowly position to get vengeance, right?
one thing that really held up was the dialogue, especially with Gracchus, that like him saying, Rome is the mob. He will bring them death and they will love him for it. Like, you have these insightful things being said about the way that humanity functions. Mm-hmm. And especially when there's a large group. People love a spectacle.
Relevant today.
It is a bit relevant today, potentially. And so this time through, I really liked the dialogue. I noticed it. I started quoting random lines to Leah, and she was like, what does this even mean? Because I'm like, frost sometimes makes the blade stick.
How many times did you ask, are you not entertained?
A couple. And so, yes, like, I actually think the dialogue is good for a Ridley Scott film.
If someone would have said that at the Tyson-Jake Paul fight, they'd have been like, no,
No,
you're absolutely
in
not
fact,
entertained.
I am not.
Not nearly as the way we hoped.
I've been buffering for hours.
Part of a lawsuit now.
Jackson, do you have anything else that holds up?
I think the action is still, it still works. Definitely a lot more blood and guts than I can remember in that movie. A lot of things I think today are more understated than this was. So it was nice to see something that's real representative of the time. It doesn't sanitize it.
It's amazing to watch this movie now because Ridley Scott we've talked about Ridley on the pod so much in the last couple of years. He just seems to be getting kind of squirrely in his older years, and doesn't really care what kind of movie he's making. You're just going to watch it. Which maybe he's right. Maybe,
I watched Napoleon.
I remember Cody going through it with Napoleon.
But watching this movie last night and those battle set pieces, those are complex. Like the amount of work that it took to film that, edit that together. I was just blown away watching them again. That opening battle was filmed in Bourne Woods in Surrey, England. And Ridley learned that the area was scheduled for deforestation and actually obtained permission to burn sections of the forest for the scene. So that was actually real, them launching those fire boulders into stuff. Enhances the realism of it. And he does that. Like there were various times where the realism was just off the charts. The other one that I noticed right away, and I found some information on this about the internet because I wanted to give my kids a real answer because my daughter said, are those real tigers? Because the kids, man, they determine real quick. It's like, oh, that doesn't look like CGI. And as it turns out, they were live tigers used to increase the authenticity. A veterinarian was present with tranquilizer darts off camera.
Oh, we put Russell at risk.
And safety precautions included having a 5-foot gap between the tigers and actors. And then this film, it was a pioneer in using CGI. It's one of the first films to heavily use it to recreate not the battle sequences so much, but ancient Rome itself, which, that whole section when they're in Rome, the way that looks is so incredible. And obviously, if you've been to Rome, the ruins that are left are not nearly that. There's not that many. And the Colosseum itself, to see a full Colosseum in the movie is kind of cool. That's a great pick, Jackson. The battle set pieces are so good in this movie. Cody?
I will say whoever the casting director was, they picked some winners.
Yeah.
Even with my guy Chibs, who is, if you're not familiar with Sons of Anarchy, you don't get that reference, but Cicero.
Guess I forgot you were familiar with Sons of Anarchy.
I lived it, buddy. There's so many familiar faces and serious actors in this. And then you have people that go on to propel themselves into the upper echelon of acting, including Russell Crowe and Joaquin Phoenix. They may not have been completely unknown quantities, but they definitely skyrocket after this movie.
I feel Jaimin Hansu had a run.
Jaimin is a good choice to shout out. He was great. But no, there's some great actors. Oliver Reed, who we already discussed, passed away during the making of this. Richard Harris, Connie Nielsen, and Derek Jacobi. Very familiar faces and some familiar names and just talented people.
Obviously, Russell Crowe, when he delivers that line.
When he takes the helmet off?
Yes.
Absolutely.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the North, general of the Felix Legions, and loyal servant to the true emperor, Marcus Aurelius. Father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance this life. That is a perfectly delivered line, and I'm not so sure there's many lines in cinematic history that are delivered better.
He definitely deserved all the Academy Awards.
Oh, it's so good. Russell Crowe was known to challenge the script in this movie. He often improvised or altered lines, and he famously tells the screenwriters of this movie, your lines are garbage, but I'm the greatest actor in the world, and I can make garbage sound good.
He ain't
Typical
wrong.
Russ.
I kind of forget, because Russell Crowe seems like a little bit more sanitized now. I forget how much of like a bad boy actor Russell Crowe was.
He was rough to work with.
Yeah.
Les Miserables changes a man.
Maybe not rougher than Joaquin Phoenix, though.
And yet Ridley brought him back.
Joaquin Phoenix experienced significant anxiety during the filming of this movie. He's younger, obviously, and at one point he expressed doubts about his ability to perform, stating, I can't do it. And director Ridley Scott and Russell Crowe had to talk him back and keep him getting. And it's good they did, because for my money, I don't know anything Joaquin's been in that's better than this. He is so creepy and just, he plays this part so well that like part of me would meet Joaquin in real life and think of him as a coward because of how well he plays this cowardly character. And Connie Nielsen's great too. Connie Nielsen is a known actress, but hasn't, it's not like, she's not Julia Roberts.
No, because some people on this show have called her Wonder Woman's mom.
Yeah, but that's what I was getting at, is she's had a really nice career of playing big parts. She's known, even if Cody did not remember her name at first.
Random thought I had, is Richard Harris the first Dumbledore, the current Dumbledore? Have there been three of them?
So in a weird twist of fate, he is the first Dumbledore in is it the first two movies?
Yeah, and I knew they replaced him, but I didn't know like how many they were on.
Much like Oliver Reed in this movie, Richard Harris dies. I think he's only in the first one. Actually, now that I'm thinking of it, Richard Harris dies near the end of production of Harry Potter 1.
Okay.
And I remember that because it happened roughly around the same time. Like Gladiator hadn't been out long.
Harry Potter 2. He's in Harry Potter 2.
And what year did that come out?
2002.
Right. So Gladiator hadn't been out long when we lose Richard Harris too. And he was the first Dumbledore.
And the best.
I would agree with that. I think Richard Harris was the best Dumbledore.
So we've only got two of them though, right? Or did we have
Yes.
to? Okay.
No, the other one stays the same. Well,
if you go to Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah, we're not counting the younger Dumbledore.
Jude Law.
Jude Law.
Nobody's counting Jude Law. Anything else on what's good or what holds up?
The score.
The score, man.
It'll get you in your emotions towards the end.
Yeah. I was struggling. I actually posted this on Blue Sky. Is this the last great score with a movie that we can remember? And I'm talking about a score that is such an integral part of the movie. Like Indiana Jones always jumps to my mind. Star Wars, usually the John Williams scores are the one that jump to your mind, where they are just, you don't realize how much they're a part of the movie you're watching until you try watching it without it. In this movie, when I was watching it last night, oh man, the music, I just heard the music so much louder in my head. And yeah, Hans Zimmer's score for this is among his most celebrated works. It is interesting. The estate of composer Gustav Holst believed that Zimmer's The Battle, which is the one that plays, I think, at the beginning, the very beginning sequence, they accused him of plagiarizing Mars' Bringer of War by Gustav Holst, which led to legal discussions, but nothing more.
I venture to say that there are other Hans Zimmer projects post this that also suffer. I'll include The Dark Knight. I don't think Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises would be as good without the soundtracks. Like, you have a lot of key dialogue, yes, but like, you don't know how much that music's building and crescendoing at the exact moment.
I will say this. I agree. The Dark Knight score is amazing. I would also throw Man of Steel's score.
Yeah.
It's very good. To me, they don't have the whole length quality that Gladiator does.
I'll agree with that.
Like, Gladiator's score throughout is just so iconic and meaningful to the movie. And the ones I think of with the superhero ones are the big dynamic end or action sequences, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is like, listen, those are both great scores. I'm not downplaying it.
Did he do Pirates of the Caribbean? I'm IMDbing as we speak, but
He's done so many of them.
I was going to say that part of Gladiator had a bit of pirates to it, but
Yeah. If John Williams doesn't exist, everyone just walks around thinking Hans Zimmer's the GOAT.
Yeah.
Because he's that good and that prolific. He's amazing, really. Anything else on what holds up?
I don't have anything else.
What doesn't hold up? Is there anything that doesn't hold up for this movie?
There was one scene that I thought, that's weird. So it's as he's riding home to discover his charred remains of everything that was meaningful in his life. The horse, like, not only rears up and then collapses, but then doesn't get up. And
Yeah, I think you're to understand that horse, he's literally ridden that horse to death.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, that's not how this works. Like, you can't have the horse gallop at full speed.
I didn't know Cody was such a horse expert.
And then, like, oh, we get to the burnt remains, and then
I take
we're
your
dead.
word for it. I have
come
no
for
idea.
Gladiator, stay for horse chats.
Also, he would have like a broken hip or leg with the horse falling on top and collapsing on him like that.
He was ignoring the pain. It was all the adrenaline.
And then it didn't affect him in the Gladiator games?
Well, no. There's a lot of times that pass between that as he's healing. Remember when he's got the maggots in his wound?
Yeah, my goodness.
My
Yeah,
kids
no.
love that part, by the way.
Well, of course they did. But no, I had beef with that. That's me nitpicking, but yes, I had beef.
Yeah, if I'm nitpicking, and this is, I mean, purely in the realm of nitpicking, there's the scene where we meet Proximo, where he is detailing his disgust with a merchant who is very Arab and you can tell is very weaselly in a very, what I would consider broadly generalizing sort of way. And I'm even certain that I've seen that actor play the same character multiple times.
Yep, the
Yep.
Mummy.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
He's the mummy.
He's in The Mummy. Yeah. Okay. And so I'm like, yeah, that's not cool.
The bugs get him.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought so. That's a movie we did a Be Kind Rewind. So if I'm nitpicking, I'm like, I'm normally not drawn to things like that because it tends to go into the political sometimes. And I'm not someone who gets carried away with things like that. Not to say that it's bad if you are, but I did notice it here and I was a little cringy. So yeah, that's the only thing I have for what doesn't hold up.
So yes, Ahmed Dajali is his name, and he's been in 2 of our Be Kind Rewinds.
Yeah,
Way to go, you!
He probably ranks in the top 5 then.
Yes.
Friend of the show.
Maybe we could get him on. I have a new category for a Be Kind Rewind. Which character would you be? If you were a character in this movie, discuss which character you'd be in the movie and why. Include reasoning based on personality quirks or favorite scenes. Jackson, if you were a character in Gladiator, who would you be?
Well, of course, Maximus. I mean, vaunted military leader, respected by all that I come in contact with, irresistible to women.
Jackson.
Yeah.
Jackson. He's really close on this
one in the same. I was waiting for who was going to pick him, honestly.
Loosely based on Jackson's real life story.
It actually is.
You know, if we're being honest and we shave off some of the far creepier parts of him, I'm probably Commodus. You know, there are obvious parts that I wish not to be included, of course, but you know, the seeking approval, I feel that's kind of me, you know. And when he's talking about like, well, I'll do this for my father, you know, I'll do this for the mob and everything, of that people pleasing and that feeling of like, no matter what I do, I'm not accepted, I'm not loved, you know. And the part where he gives them the thumbs down when they're all chanting kill, and then Maximus doesn't do it, and it's Maximus the merciful, and he's like, you know, I gave them what I thought they wanted, and I'm still not good enough. And
you're also the type to poke the bear, and so I could see you saying the things about his wife and kid.
Thanks, Cody.
Listen. That was a deeply thoughtful response.
It was.
That was amazing.
Way more thoughtful than what mine's going to be.
Honestly, he's such a broken character by obviously his failure by his father to be a father, which Marcus Aurelius has a line in the movie to that effect. The line I remember that makes me think of is when he's upset and he's holding his father right before he suffocates him. He says, I would, like, in a very upset tone, I would slaughter the whole world if you would just love me. Like, that is just a painfully emotional line. And that was a very deep answer. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yes.
That took some humility too.
Love you, Dad.
Cody, if you were a character in this movie, who would you be?
It's between two.
Don't say Maximus.
No, it wasn't going to be Maximus.
Which senators are we talking about?
Yeah.
So I was going to say it's between Proximo and Marcus Aurelius.
Oh, God.
So, like...
Are you Stoic? Are you a Stoic? Marcus Aurelius, famous philosopher, Stoic.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am a bit of a Stoic.
Yeah, I could see that.
When capitalist Cody comes out, Proximo would be the person that we're referring to, because literally, like, we got a question like, why are we doing this? And does it pay to be good? That's what capitalist Cody sometimes falls into a trap of. But I think in my day in, day out living, I'm more of a Marcus Aurelius kind of thoughtful individual that identifies, oh yeah, no, I'm not great. I actually am the worst. Things should be a lot better. I leave you to fix it.
Yeah, if I was a character in this movie, younger Dave especially, I want to be Maximus. Every dude that saw this movie back then wanted to be Maximus. I even tried to champion the name Maximus for my first son. Danielle said no. But I really wanted the name Lawson Maximus.
Oh, Danielle, you missed out. At least a middle name.
But you know who I probably am? And I realized this last night while watching it, because I was watching it carefully just so I could talk about this segment. You know the big dude in the Gladiator camp who does the joke? Like in this very serious situation, they're aware everything's become political. Maximus sits down with his bowl of slop or soup or whatever that is. And the big dude, they all look at each other like, should he eat this? This is probably poisoned. And so he takes the spoon and dips it in there and then takes a big bite and then goes, and then they realize he was joking and all laughing in this very serious situation.
You are Hagen?
Ralph Moeller.
I am probably that dude. I am
Best
the dude.
of the best too.
I am the dude who's joking in a situation where you probably shouldn't be joking. That's me.
Although the other two find it hilarious after he does it. So it breaks the tension.
Yes. Well, I'm very good at breaking tension. One might say it's one of my strongest abilities.
I would agree.
Because at heart, I am a peacemaker and I get very awkward and nervous when people are mad at each other. And so I will often break tension with jokes. Okay. Deeper themes. Do you guys have deeper themes? Because I have something that I think could give us started.
I'll let you start. I definitely have one, but I'll
Okay.
let you start.
I have a little monologue here. I wrote this after I was done watching the movie last night. And I love the take on what heroism is in this movie. We talk about legacy an awful lot. Like everybody's so worried about their legacy. Everybody wants to say the thing or do the thing or win the thing that gets their names remembered. But no matter what heights we attain to in this life, it's like Maximus says for us all, the time for honoring ourselves will soon be at an end. You know what I mean? There's so much about our world and our achievements that just dies with us. Death smiles at us all, he says, right? That was what Marcus Aurelius said to him.
Mm-hmm.
After all, we are but shadows and dust, like Proximo says. And it's hard not to think of the book of Ecclesiastes, because even though this story in this movie ends well, the hero is dead. The empire and the world will return to its brokenness soon. Like, the empire doesn't get better, historically speaking.
Yeah.
It makes one feel like, if you're aware of that and understand that this happy ending, and I say that with quotes, isn't really all that happy, it makes one feel like it's all meaningless. It's all vanities. But I think we can take heart, because the rebuttal for all that comes at the beginning of the movie. And he says it very early on, within the first 5 minutes. Brothers, what we do in life echoes in eternity. What will be forgotten here lives on somewhere else. I believe that. The only question is, what will we do in life? How do we handle situations? And I think it's the turning from achievement to caring about people in specific moments. Mm-hmm. That is what echoes in eternity, what changes things. All the choices we make ripple through generations. And so I think the theme of the movie, the actual moral of the story, is what he says in the first 5 minutes. Brothers, what we do in life echoes in eternity. What do you think about that?
No, I think it's valid. It plays on one of the things that I would say is also a theme, and that is it's not the things of grandeur, but the simplistic things that are meaningful. Because where did the Gladiator actually want to go the whole time of the movie? He just wanted to go back to his farm, be with his wife and kid. That's really all he wanted. It wasn't, I want to lead Rome, I want to do this or that, be some powerful entity. It was, I want to go back to my family and my farm.
Yeah.
And be content with his lot in life. Although Joaquin Phoenix will ruin it for you every time.
Well, that's why and Marcus Aurelius is really the one who ruins his life.
Yes.
And he says to him, that's why it has to be you, because you don't want it. Right? And I love that he's motivated purely by vengeance until the Lucilla convinces him, like, I care about my son. Doesn't that mean anything?
It means everything.
And that's what kind of changes him into like, okay, I have a duty to protect other people's sons.
Yes. A story that's as old as time is told throughout this. We have an individual, a hero, that was from a high place, top-ranking general, and was going to lead or be put in charge of all Rome, and then goes to a very lowly estate, died to free everyone, and they will see him again, but not yet. That's how the movie ends.
Where do they get these stories?
I don't know.
Well, who's the winner of the movie, in your estimation?
Easy answer is Maximus. I mean, he gets his ultimate vengeance, but then he gets what he wanted throughout of rejoining his wife and son.
He's in Elysium, walking through a field with the sun on his face.
I kept saying he's in Valhalla, but he wasn't.
Nope. Different culture.
Because it's a vastly different one. But if this had been some Norse mythology storytelling, he would have gone there.
Yeah. All right. Cody, who's your winner of the movie?
It makes me so angry. Ridley Scott. Because of this movie, he gets a pass to make Napoleon. And other
It always
movies.
comes back to Napoleon for Cody. He's so mad about that movie.
And do I think Ridley Scott is a visionary? Yes. Do I think Ridley Scott has some talent? Yes. Does he need to be reeled in? Yes. But because of this movie, he gets a golden ticket to do whatever he wants whenever he wants.
I would say, I think Alien and some other flicks have something to do with that.
Although, arguably, the best Alien
is James Cameron.
Is not directed by him.
But Ridley's a legend. He's got some movies under his belt. My winner of the movies, I went the obvious route. Russell Crowe becomes Russell Crowe. After this movie. I mean, if you didn't know who he was before, you knew who he was after this movie. And everything about him after is defined by this. He is Maximus. He is General Maximus. And that's like, it's just kind of crazy to think about his journey to this movie and then what he became afterwards. And that he's like
every superhero's dad.
Well, yeah, he doesn't take himself overly serious either, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, I have him the winner of the movie. Jackson, who's your loser of the movie?
Probably Commodus. I mean, in the end of the day, he gets what he felt he wanted, but then he finds out that, you know, no matter what he does, he's not loved, he's not respected, valued, and then comes right along and gets assassinated.
I like that you go for the real characters here. The characters, not the actors. It's interesting that Commodus is a real Roman Caesar after Marcus Aurelius. He is the son of Marcus Aurelius, I think, in real history, but he has a very nondescript reign.
Killed in his bathtub.
Yeah, there's really nothing outstanding about anything about him. So I guess he's sort of the loser for being turned into a creepazoid, but also a winner because at least there was something noteworthy about him. Cody, who's your loser of the movie?
Well, this one is pretty easy. It's Giannina Facio, or Maximus's wife, because she dies instantly. And little known fact, she's married to Ridley Scott.
Oh, hey. He's the first James Gunn giving his wife parts.
Okay, so they got married in 2015. So
Well, since Cody opened the door, I was going to talk about this afterward, but does the story get cheapened when you find out that Maximus and Commodus's sister potentially had a thing or did have a thing where instead of it being, you know, he took my wife and son, you know, that maybe Maximus was not pure of
virtue.
Yeah. And possibly that.
My understanding, though, is the thing took place way in the past, in his youth, before he was married.
Well, and there are questions about Lucius's father. And obviously that leading into this
Gladiator
weekend.
2.
Oh, you think there's something in the new movie that might
Maximus has a child?
Oh, yeah, that would stink. I hope they don't do that.
Yeah, I was going to bring it up, but Cody opened the door. So.
There is a trailer where they hint that.
Oh man, I hope that doesn't happen. By the way, we're gonna review Gladiator 2 next week. I have the loser of the movie as being Ridley Scott, because watching this movie again reminds me of what he can do. And recently, it seems like what he really likes to do is complain about Marvel movies along with his friend Marty. And, then make trash like Napoleon.
And he didn't win Best Director for this. That was one of the
few that lost.
That they didn't get.
Yeah, maybe that's why he's so angry. When I say dude's angry, he's angry. Like he quote tweeted somebody calling out the historical accuracy of Gladiator 2. And it was like, nobody cares about the historical accuracy, blah, blah, blah. I make movies. I make what I want.
I was going to say he did that with Napoleon.
I've always been more of a Tony Scott guy.
All right, Jackson, how many of Maximus's helmets out of 10 are you giving this movie?
10.
A 10? He's going to 10. It's a 10. A 10. Cody?
If it could have been under 2 hours.
Oh, God.
It would have been a perfect 10. About the 2 hour mark, I was feeling it. And I'm like, this is a 9.
It is so close, isn't it? I'm giving it a 9.5, which is about as good as I give. I have a hard time giving anything 10 because that just feels like it's got to be perfect. And I hate to do this, but I think you're actually right.
Yeah.
Watching it again last night, I thought they could have just trimmed a little bit of the fat of this movie. For this, if this movie comes in right around like an hour 45, hour 50, it's sleek and moves fast. It's simple because the formula's simple, like we talked about, and it's so good. I think we hang out a little bit too long in some of the storylines maybe we didn't need. So
what do you cut?
Well, anything to do with Lucilla and Maximus's past. There's a lot of dialogue wasted for that. A lot of scenes, like even the scene where he shows up after the first battle to the tent, and like the Lucilla and her handmaiden or whatever are like watching him, and they linger on that. And they're like, "Oh, Maximus." Like, I just don't know that you need it. I don't even know that you need Joaquin Commodus to be as creepy as he is. Like, I don't know if we need the fleshing out of that.
Yeah, you can keep the hinting around of
Yes,
it.
for sure. Which for nobility in ancient world it's not that uncommon.
Yes.
I think there's maybe one or two too many scenes between Wonder Woman's mom and Russell Crowe. But I think, obviously the whole part about the plotting against him where, you need that for that purpose. So I agree 2.5 hours was an investment, but I don't know that there's enough that you can cut from it. And there's an extended version out there if you just can't get enough.
Wow. All right. Well, this movie is next year 25 years old. Isn't that amazing? What do you think of Gladiator? Is it one of your favorites? Could you do without it? Let us know on the social media posts for this. And we will see you next week when we review Gladiator 2.